So we're back on the Lead Gen podcast where we interview successful business owners. They give us some tips and tricks and how they got started and they're pretty much their life story. So today we have a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, EJ Davis. EJ, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Met EJ, 3-4 years ago now?
Yeah, about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. We met at Nicole's restaurant in Totowa. At first, I didn't like EJ to know who he was at first. I'm like, who the hell is this J.O. walking in with a Richard Mille, his wrist shining with diamonds, and an hour later we were best of friends. So each happy to have you on. We also have the co-host Chris Glancy, my partner in crime. So each, thanks for coming.
Thank you guys for having me.
So each, take us through, I know you're in the cell tower business, but let's back up and talk about your upbringing and how you started what you have currently.
All right. Well, my upbringing it was the best for what it could be. I mean, at a very early age, my family owns, my dad's side of the family owns hunting and fishing stores. So I grew up hunting and fishing most of my life. And in 1989, my father passed away with cancer, and that destroyed me. I was always with him every day.
Yeah.
He was home. He was a gunsmith at home. He was a land developer. He did a bunch of real estate deals. My mother worked very hard too. When he passed away, it really took a big toll on me because now I was the man of the house at 9 years old. So I had to help raise my sister, with family members. My sister's 2 years younger than me. Now she's very successful. She's like a nurse practitioner, doctor in Texas, 3 kids, beautiful house, living the dream. All through school, I played football, I wrestled. I had jobs after school as being young.
Yeah.
Just to bring in some extra money to try to help my family. My mother got remarried 3 years later. We moved to West Milford, New Jersey, and from there I went to the Marine Corps. There's not really much to tell during the high school era because of football, wrestling.
Yeah.
Not saying my grades were the best, but I did a brief stint at Florida State, got redshirted, and I went to the Marine Corps.
And this is why I love EJ, because a lot of brothers in that situation either implode and don't, take care of the family, but you did.
I had every excuse in the world to be a junkie or to give up on life.
For sure.
I thought about it like this, where would my father want to see me? Would he want to see me, being a dirtbag, or would he want to see me excel to the best I could at what I have to work with?
Yeah, no, dude, for sure. And so then you go into the Marine Corps, you're how old?
18 when I go into the Marine Corps. It was a pretty rough experience. I got combat injured in the Marine Corps, and they said I would never walk or talk again after I got hurt. So when I came back to the stateside, I had to go to rehab. I went to the VA hospital, which I'm not saying anything bad about it, but I could have had better care. I was at Walter Reed for a while. And their answer was drugs. They would overprescribe just to keep you. So I met a girl. I'm not going to get into her name or anything like that. And she's like, this isn't who you are. She knew me prior. So she's like, stop taking these drugs. I stopped, and all of a sudden I started getting common sense back again. I could think again on my own, and everything like that. My handwriting to this day still sucks, just like when I was in 3rd grade. Still looks like that. But I could walk again. I could talk again, and everything else fell into place. So in 2010 or 2008, I had a job for AT&T. I was working for them, and there was a big layoff. So I got laid off from there, and I went into a company called Transcend Wireless. I worked for them for about a year and a half. I worked my way up quick. I became a project manager or a construction manager probably within 6 months.
That's your military background, right?
What?
Just like learning how to just rank up and know how to do a job. And
well, I also have a degree in electronic engineering. I got when I was home disabled.
Yeah.
So I didn't just sit on the couch. I was going to school online classes to get it. So I got hired to these people. So after I became a construction manager, project manager, we were coming in, way under time. Our sites are always built. I got laid off. Well, when I got laid off, all the guys I used to give work to as a project manager for other companies, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to sit home. I need work. So I had, I think, $4,000 to my name. And with the $4,000, I recruited 3 guys, and we went out. We started doing odd jobs for the cell phone industry. We weren't doing, new
Installs,
builds. No, we were doing, I want to say like the stuff nobody else wanted to do: dig the holes, put the pipes in, for the ice bridge. Um, clean cell phone sites, go do punch list items. Just we're making
BS stuff. Yeah.
yeah, minimum PO wages. So my first year, the name of my company was EJD Consultants. I think I did $122,000 my first year with me and 3 guys. I was like, well, this isn't going to cut it, so we got to go harder.
Mm-hmm.
So I made contacts. A lot of guys like steakhouses and other stuff. So I weaseled my way up.
We never go to steakhouses either. It's
Well, no, yeah, well, that's because we don't really do. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we should not be talking about, but we call it. So I befriended a lot of these business owners. They liked me. I had a military background. I was a hard worker. I was really good at anything that got thrown our way. I always made sure it was perfect, so they kept using me. Eventually, I was the last one on the list they would use. I was the first one on the list, first and last. They would even did. They said, buy another truck, do this. Yeah. So one of the guys gave me a $50,000 loan. With the loan, I got more guys. So now I have 8 guys. So my second year, we made 207.
So before you even get to that second year, though, your industry is a specialty. So like, where are you finding these guys? Like, are you training them one by one, or?
The guys I recruited were union guys that were out of work.
Gotcha.
So I had some carpenters, I had some plumbers, I had some electricians. It was this. It was like a melting pot, basically a shit show. You know what I mean? Like it was anybody who had a driver's license and 2 hands, like, you're hired.
This is the Wolf of Wall Street for cell towers.
Well, yeah, basically it's like, listen, you have driver's license, you have 2 hands, and you're on time. That's being on time is 80% of the battle these days, because nobody really wants to work anymore. You know how hard it is to find people? I mean, we were paying good then too. I mean, look, in 2013, guys were going home at like $350 a day.
Yeah,
that's good money.
Yeah, 2013. That's like, when the old people tell me, not being an old person, like in the 80s, $100 was $100. You could take your family out to dinner, buy gas,
save
everything.
for a vacation.
Yeah, now I can't even fill my Escalade up for $100.
Yeah, forget it.
Ridiculous. So these guys are making good money. They're always on time because they wanted it. I mean, I was hard on them. I treated them like I probably would have had the labor board called on me.
Now.
And then, too, because, listen, like, I'm not saying there was not fist fights on the jobs, but, they would, if one guy was messing up, the other guy saw it because they both didn't want to get in trouble, they would just start fighting. But, we squashed a lot of it, and we all got along. It was a lot of mixed races and, nationalities or whatever. So we get to our first big year, I'll say, with 2 trucks, 8 guys.
And this is what year now?
2014.
14?
Yeah, I was living in Mawa in a 1-bedroom apartment with my current wife now, Catherine. And I had a garage in Garfield. I'm talking rat-infested, just a place to keep material, and it was terrible, terrible. So we go to Garfield in the morning, pull the material, we go out to the sites. So I got a job working for a company called TEG at the time. And this guy, Frank Pena, took me under his wing, and he started giving me bigger jobs. I wasn't getting like the $2,000 jobs. I was getting like the $20,000 to $40,000 jobs.
Wow. Big increase.
Big increase because, they gave me a project. It was to go do, I'll get into the numbers, I guess, because, it's after the IRS's statute of limitations. But I was getting back in 2013, I was getting like $350 for every GPS cone on an AT&T site. Basically, I had to call up, say, I'm turning the site down for a minute. I'd unscrew the cone, take a picture of the serial number, take a picture of the cone, and screw it back on. So I recruited like 10 of my friends, right? And we started down in Virginia and worked our way home, the furthest part away. I had my best friend, Steve Sangle. I remember this right now. He's a very successful iron worker. He does all the bridges and tunnels in New Jersey. It's almost like the 2 of the worst kids in school made it the most successful.
Yeah.
You know, you have the kids are valedictorians. They I don't know, they work at Starbucks. Meanwhile, you got me. Whoever was in my in-school suspension or not playing football became successful. It's really amazing. But
That's what America's built off of.
I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? People say you have to go to college and get an education. It's really not. It's kind of what you pick up and how fast you can learn. So I recruited everybody. I'm talking nurses, doctors, truck drivers, babysitters, dog walkers, whatever. I said, you can't. I can't. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't fuck this up. Basically, it's two pictures: a picture of Little White Cone and a serial number. And that's it. That's all you got to do. So Steven, who was always, you know, he's younger than me, but he's always like, you know, he always wants to be the boss, which is fine. I put him up in a hotel room somewhere in the middle, and he would map out all the sites so we weren't zigzagging all over. It's like, Team A, you got 10 to do. If they did like 15 that day, they would get extra. I was paying these guys like $700 a day.
That's great.
So they were hustling.
Yeah.
You know, some of these guys are making $1,000, $1,500 a day. I was making $350 on each one, so they're making me $20,000.
Yeah.
but listen, I'm talking. You got a neighborhood dog walker making $50 a week. He's making $1,000 a day now, and he's taking two pictures. Like, it's not like, you know, he's saving a life. Like,
That's not rocket science.
no. And they knew what I was getting, but I'm like, listen, I supplied the trucks, I got the insurance, because insurance is huge in this industry. And we'll get to that in a little bit later, but I pay for the hotel rooms. I mean, we were eating steak dinner. I had to tell the guys we're done at 5 just so we could all meet for dinner. Like, oh, sun's going. It was like August. We're going to keep going. One team did 20 in one day, and I was like, that's like $60,000. No, $6,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they did pretty good today. I'm like, yeah, we're having like family dinners every night because we would move up to another part of the state, and we would do, you know, start over again the next day. So we had to kill everything in that site and get finished with another like 40-mile radius. So every night we went on steak dinners. I'm not saying we didn't drink, you know, at dinner, but it was like these guys worked hard. I mean, we'd walk into like a Wolfgang's or we'd walk into a Capitol Grill, cover head to toe in mud and shit and anything else, sit down, and they're like, can you guys afford this place? Bam, there goes the black card, and we were drinking Camus, like in overalls and, you know, mud on our face. So we did this big project, and they're like, okay, well, you did 400 of these cones in, like, I don't know, a week. And they said this was a 6-month job. So then,
just banging it out.
So then they got around the industry, and they're like, wow, like, he hustles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had guys, I didn't have enough money at the time to pay for all these trucks. So I had them using their own cars, and I was paying them, like, here, $400 a day just to use your own car.
Yeah.
Like I said, we started down in South Virginia, and we worked all the way up through Baltimore, all the way up through Delaware,
That's
and back
amazing.
into New Jersey. So yeah, I mean, the money was good. So now I had a little nest egg. I had like maybe $50,000-$60,000. Now they're like, okay, so like, you know, well, as Frankie would tell me, he's like, all right, you know, what do you call me, smart ass or whatever. Listen, he broke my balls more than anybody, but I probably wouldn't have been where I was if it wasn't for Frank Pena.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, you ever think about doing the whole site builds? And I'm like, oh, you know, I was kind of nervous because I had this little racket going where I was doing these little odd jobs now. I paid big money in a week. Like,
Yeah.
I made $50,000 in a week. That was huge. I mean, you know, what was I, 29? What was it, 2000?
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, so I was like 29 years old, 28, 29 years old. I was like, wow, man, that's the most money I've ever made in my life. You know, and he's like, what about you want to make more money? I'm like, listen, I love money, you know. I love my wife, I love my son, but I really love money. So it's like...
Clip that one, Troy.
No, you know what I mean.
I know.
But I love my wife and son more than money, but, you know, but money makes the world go round.
You have the hustle in you, for sure.
Yeah. So after that, he's like, take on these new jobs. I'm like, okay. So now I have to go hire tower climbers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, where the hell do I find these people?
That's hard to find.
Yeah, because we never went in the air. I didn't know anything about it. You know, I was a ground guy.
I mean, tree guys you go after, right?
Yeah, a lot of tree guys. But I found a couple guys. I remember Saeed was one.
Where'd you find them? Your guys that climb at first.
At first, I found a tree guy, Joe Moran. He helped me start my company. I had a couple other guys I knew from the industry because you know they would see each other in the warehouse.
Yeah.
We would talk, and I'm like, listen, let's do something on our own. You're tired of working for somebody else. And look, I
Let's
said,
roll.
I'll pay you double. You know what I mean? I wasn't greedy. I'm like, let's help me build my business, and we'll do this.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Chris Rios, was a big part of it. He passed away a couple of years ago, unfortunately.
That was your right-hand guy, too.
Saeed was my right
Saeed,
guy.
okay.
Yeah, Saeed is, me and Saeed are still brothers to this day. Saeed and Chris Rios really helped start my business, and they knew people in the industry because they were climbers. They were older than me, so then they started telling their friends. So I got all these guys now, and I got all these tower climbers. I got trucks.
You're rolling now.
Yeah, I took the whole 50,000 I had, and I rolled the dice, and I'm like, look, this is it. So
That's one thing about EJ, too. He rolls the dice. If he's got a decision to make, that decision is being made very quickly.
yeah, I pushed the limits like in a heartbeat, and it's not. I mean, I'm probably 98% effective. The other 2% really jams me up. I'm not gonna say that.
No risk, no reward.
No, there's a lot of risk. Just you got to try to get to the reward part. You know what I mean?
We're sitting down at dinner one night, and I go, Each, be honest with me. How many times have you been up there? He goes, once. I'll never do it again.
Well, no, I used to go up with the crane, so I go in the basket, right? So it's too lazy to climb all the way up there. The guys are 300 feet in the air.
That's scary.
The only thing above them is Jesus. I mean, I would look, and there's clouds, and then it's like a voice from God on the radio. Send me up a bucket. And I'm like, where's this bucket going? You know, and I gotta make sure it's my guys asking for it. So I tell the crane guy, I'm like, yo, put me in the basket. I'd go up there with Domino's pizzas. I'd be 300 feet in the air eating pizza with these fools. These guys are just swinging on a rope, just like, like little apes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. I'm like, do you need anything else while I'm up here? And they're like, maybe a Snapple. I'm like, oh, coming right up. Yeah, so I go back down, and I put on a rope, and I'd send them up drinks and stuff. But these guys, I mean, they're great. They're loyal. They would stay up there all day, work their ass off. Like I said, we're all making good money. Our sites were perfect, and we were coming in 3 or 4 days faster than everybody else.
That's baked in construction.
Well, yeah. So if I bid a job for 20,000, and I'm like, okay, it's going to take 10 days, and we do it in 5, I would give the guys extra money. I say, listen, if you guys did this, in a reasonable amount of time, listen, I'm not saying every job I would spoil them on, because some jobs took longer than 10 days for weather or whatever. I kick them an extra $200 or $300. So I'm like, cool. Yeah. And then the faster we did that, the faster we would, have more work. So
because you guys aren't climbing wintertime, right?
No,
you can't.
Yeah. So 2014. So we'll get to the decline of kind of this industry. So we always had something called the fourth quarter, right? From August to January 1st, we would probably make all our money for the year. That because everything was double time, overtime, stuff had to get in before the budgets. But it was like hurry up and wait, like the Marine Corps. So January, February, March, whatever was left over, these guys are up there. And if it was like negative 10 degrees on the ground, it was probably negative 30 up in the air. You know what I mean?
That's a problem.
So it's a 30-degree temperature change with the winds and
stuff. And guys die up there too, right? They just can't get them down, right?
Well, no, guys die because they fall. Yeah, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, they can get locked up there. You got some rescue and all that. But listen, I was never greedy. I said, listen, you guys want to climb at your own risk. If you don't feel safe, I'll pay you for the day. Just whatever. We'll
Let me know.
We've done I would never penalize somebody. I'm like, look, you made the company and us and yourself so much money extra for coming 5 days early, 3 days early, 2 days early. Hey, it's shitty outside. I'm going to pay anyway. You have a family. I'm not going to penalize you or put your life at risk for any of that stuff. So we did that for a bit, and then we got really well known. And we're like, okay, so what do you guys want to do now? So we started with Sprint, and we made our mark with that. We probably did over 100 Sprint sites, and then
this is all New Jersey too, right?
No, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, upstate New York, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, because you were doing a lot in the city too, right?
Yeah, that's later on. So, because then I got a call in like 2014 and 15.
Those are big years for you, 14 and 15.
Huge, yeah. So my first year, I told you, I made around like 160. And then by year 4, I was probably making about $1 million a year.
That's awesome.
You know,
That you're taking home.
no, that's as a company.
Oh, as a company,
I
okay.
didn't make that money until later on, but I got to make sure the IRS is like thing in case they want to reopen.
We'll
the
post
books.
this in the summertime.
Yes, I will say allegedly, just because then you can't, it's not
Yeah.
permanent. But we made $1 million as a company with 6 employees.
That's awesome.
So guys are going home $100,000 a year each. I made 300. They owe 100,000 a piece after expenses. So then they asked us to get into bigger projects. They're like, okay, what do you guys think about Verizon? And we're like, all right, what about it? So they started us off on the shittiest jobs you could get. Towers. Towers suck. They paid a little bit more at the time, but they sucked.
And you guys are doing installs for these towers? Like you guys are doing the foundation and...
Well, there's other companies that did the raw land at the time because I couldn't float that nut. I didn't have a credit line with these people because, you need excavators, you need rebar, you need concrete, you need permits. So being a subcontractor for a big GC company,
Works
they
out.
would do all that, and then we'd go on a tower, we'd stack them, we'd put the mounts up, we would do everything. So once we started getting into the towers, I had 3 crews doing a tower a week.
Oh, wow.
At I don't know, probably $100,000 a week. We were doing.
Wow.
Shit.
So by year 2014, I was doing about $100,000 a week.
Wow. That's a huge increase.
Huge. Well, if I kept it up and I ran it like the Marine Corps, you know what I mean? It was always, it was fast, swift, fast, and deadly. That's the way it was. I mean, we could all make fun of each other, in our crews.
But when work comes,
no outsiders could though. So if somebody else, we all stuck together, we all fought together. Not and saying we're getting in fist fights in bars, but somebody heard a bad mouth about the company, they would stick up for it. You know what I mean? You want to worry about the people that have your back when you're not there. You know
exactly.
What I mean? It's if I heard somebody say something bad about you, I'd be like, oh, what are you talking? You know what I mean? I'd stick up for you. I'd be like, yeah, and agree.
Yeah.
Which, now it's hard to find loyalty with anybody.
But you built a nice culture.
I tried to build the best culture. So then people tried to, they always say, well, often duplicated or often imitated, never duplicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people. Some guys quit and they thought they could do it. It lasted 3 days and they tried to come back and work for me. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
So then 2000.
They think it's so easy.
Oh, yeah, no problem. We're just going to do this, right?
Yeah.
So 2015, one of my good friends, Joe Aquino, who I worked with for a company prior, Transcend, this was 2013. I said, Joey, listen, he was working for a company. I'm not going to get into who he was working for. And I'm like, look, I need somebody I can trust. We always remained friends after that. We've been friends probably since 2008 or 9, me and him. And I'm like, look, I need somebody I can trust. I need another me. You know what I mean? I need somebody that knows. So we went 2 separate routes. When this all happened, I went to the owner route. He went to the project manager construction route. Yeah. So as the owner of the company, let's backtrack a little bit. 2013, it was EJD Consultants. I didn't start EJD Wireless until 2015. So my days are like this. 2012, 2013, I would get home from work. I would do the payroll. I would fix the trucks myself. I would do my taxes. I would do the scheduling. I would getting jobs. I'd be doing bids. I'd be doing POs. I'd be doing everything. I was pretty much working 17 hours a day. And that's when I noticed we're making all this money. And I was like, okay, now we need help. I need help. And, Joe Aquino to this day is still one of my best friends. So I'm like, Joe, I need another one of me. He's like, all right. So Joey came on board. He left his company. He was a little nervous at first. And he's like, listen, if you want to make more money, we have to get direct with a carrier. And the carrier, was T-Mobile. So you had to be in business for 5 years, to get vetted into it. They just don't let any, Momo go in there. And
you can't.
Carrier, because you got a lot more responsibility. Your insurance goes up to $20 million a year. Yeah, it's wild. So he got us into T-Mobile. And then I always had Sam Vaccaro with me. Sam Vaccaro, he was with me probably longer than Joe. Him and Saeed were my 2 right-hand men, I gotta say. Sammy, to this day, one of the hardest working guys I know. He was in the field. He knew everything. He could troubleshoot a site over the phone.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
they're
awesome.
like, oh, you got to drive to Pennsylvania. He's like, oh, hit this switch. Did it work? Cool. Bye. You know, hang up. So the guys they're very knowledgeable. You know what I mean? But me and Sammy were also in the holes together, digging, you know, concrete, mixing it in December. You know what I mean? Freezing our balls off. You know, but I would never ask anybody to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Wouldn't do it, yeah.
You know, as people like, oh, why don't you do it? I'm like, son,
I've done it.
Yeah, I have guys, you know, until recently, until I got rid of them, is they're making, I don't know, $40 an hour and they won't dig a hole. I'm like, son, I used to dig trenches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we had a Yukon Denali is a work truck. You know, shovels and stuff. Like, yeah, it was out of control. I mean, I've been on job sites in a business suit. I went out, you know, the night before and I just didn't make it on time to get home and get changed. And I ended up on a suit, you know, with the Ferragamo shoes, pouring concrete like that. That really wasn't. That wasn't. Really, it wasn't even work boots. I could have got in trouble by OSHA, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't do. But moving forward, we started EJD Wireless. EJD Wireless was.
This is 16 now, right?
2015, 2016. Okay. So we became direct with T-Mobile. We got fed a lot of work by T-Mobile. We were doing probably $3 million a year.
Wow.
It's T-Mobile. But we also had Sprint and everything else. Mm-hmm. So I was saying we probably were doing a combination between $3 and $6 million a year, 2015. So now how old was I then?
You're what, 33,
now
34?
I'm 43 now, yeah, so it was that. So 2015, I got in a little bit of trouble. I had to go away for, you know, a 90-day stay. Not a rehab. It was like a forced, you know, 90-day stay. Yeah. And I was engaged to Catherine. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, listen, she helped me run 2 companies when I was locked up. Mm-hmm. Right. So I got locked up on a charge. My wife was a school teacher then. Thank God I went to jail between June and September. I wrecked her summer. I was in jail because now she's doing double work. So I have a school teacher going to meet these shady guys in parking lots, bringing cash, picking up checks, running it. I was in jail probably spending, I don't know, like $100 a day in phone calls because it's like 50 cents a minute.
Yeah, because you're calling everybody.
Doing loans and everything, yeah. And a very good close friend of mine, Brenda Fenderline, and TEG, I was also working for, helped us. You know what I mean? Because I did such good work for them, and we always stayed close. We were always tight. So if it wasn't for Brenda and Frankie, I would have never really had anything today. And especially my wife, who I give, you know, a lot of credit to because she's been through me.
She's your rock, dude, as you know.
There's nothing this woman wouldn't do for me, and likewise. I mean, I got a lot of kissing up and making up to do with her for a lot of shitty stuff I've done. But, so, yeah, like, without her, I really don't know where I would be today. Honestly, she kind of levels me. Without her, I'd probably would have went down the wrong path somewhere along the line. So, 2015, Joe Aquino's with me. EJD Wireless started. We had to change the name of the company because they wanted more of a wireless name. Yeah. Consultants was just like, you know.
Could you still, like, kept that as like a DBA in the background?
Yeah, but I just started another company as a parent company. I mean, you know, it's just like having Mike's Moving Service and they're building cell phone towers. Yeah. You know, so you're going to approach, you know, I call it like, what do you call them? You know this basketball shit. I don't know. What is it, like the top 4, the Fab 4, whatever?
Yeah,
the
Big
March
4.
Madness or whatever they call it. Well, the only people
4.
you could work for was AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, and Metro PCS at the time.
I'm interested, like, where those meetings look like. They call you into the city, they sit you down, and you go over the qualifications.
For the meetings?
Yeah, to get in bed with one of these wireless companies.
A lot of steak dinners, a lot of extracurricular activities to, kind of persuade them to go your way to be a vendor.
Yeah.
So,
and that process takes months. Does it take a couple weeks? Is it?
So, you can get it fast tracked. Yeah. But you got to get to the people that fast track it, or else your paperwork sits on the desk. You know what I mean? It's not any. Listen, I'm not saying it was bribery or payouts or handoffs.
But it was bribery and payouts.
But it was kind of bribery and payouts and everything like that. But
you got to do what you got to do.
But I mean, listen, it was harmless. It wasn't like you had one-on-one meetings with the people.
Yeah.
You had, 4 people in the same company. I had me, Joe, and a couple other people, and we would all go to dinner together. And honestly, we never even talked about work, believe it or not. Because I mean,
That's interesting.
I'm a huge fisherman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I talk about fishing all day long. You do podcasts about fishing.
Yeah.
John Contello, we'll talk about fishing for weeks. But and these guys all like fishing, so we clicked on that. But never once did we talk about work
business.
at these dinners because it was like, okay.
Because they already knew that you could do the job.
Yeah, so there's nothing to talk about. I'm not begging you for anything. I'm like, let's go hang out. You know, let's go do whatever. So we got our first T-Mobile contract, and we had that up until currently still. We're still doing T-Mobile. Well, we were still doing T-Mobile. And then I met this kid, Anthony Zaccaro, who became one of my best friends. So Anthony Zaccaro started off in the field, and I actually met him, and he was sleeping in a car, right? He had his own personal demons. He got clean. He did everything great. This kid would read books on how to use the test equipment on his spare time.
Wow.
The kid was like a genius. This kid could troubleshoot anything around the country. Other companies would call him and be like, Anthony, can you help us out? And he's like, yeah, do this, change this wire.
Wow.
He was actually probably one of the smartest guys I've ever met, and I'm so sorry to say he passed away last year. You know, for a tragic accident. And that kind of devastated me. And ever since then, it's kind of been like, it's been a little bit weird. So
how'd you meet him?
Anthony?
Yeah.
Through another guy that worked for me. He's like, hey, I got a friend that can work.
That could do this, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, what's his deal? Nobody would give the kid a shot, you know what I mean? He had a couple, like, you know, priors. But so before EJD Wireless, I used to joke around and say, you know, EJD Consultants, we should have changed the name to, like, Second Chance Communications because most of these guys, they, you know, it was almost like a requirement, like, yo, you do time, up, you're hired, come on, you know what I mean? It wasn't, I never got nobody out of school, like, with a resume. You know, it's like, how much time did you do? Oh, you're good, you could be a foreman. Oh, you only did 2 months? Oh, you're a laborer. You know what I mean? So you had the hierarchy of, like, you know,
He tells me he gets his federal contract. What was it? Picatinny
Arsenal.
Yeah.
I couldn't even go on the site. I was like, who here has not been locked up? I had 2 people. I'm like, well, so I got to turn this down. I said, I need 4. So out of 18, only 2 people could do it. One was the president of my company, Joe Aquino, and he wasn't Clyde. He was the president of my company. He's not going. And one was the secretary. So everybody else was like, you know, they got jammed up. They had all kinds of stuff. So we lost that contract. But besides that, I mean, listen, I got to say, though, over the years, we did very well, you know, with the people we had. Like I said, it was almost like a brotherhood, you know. We treat everybody like family. Sure. Whenever I had a party, the whole company came to my house. And then when they had christenings, the whole company was at a kid's
A lot of guys don't do that.
No, but that's why you need...
Because the workers see how the owner lives and shit, and they find somewhere else to go, and I could do this myself. And
But you got to understand, though, a lot of these guys, you know, like, I'm not getting into names of them. You know, one kid had got a house for a Christmas bonus. You know what I mean? So, like, he went from living in a 2-family house to a beautiful house, 3 cars, you know what I mean? A lot of guys, you know, got perks. You know, some people need a down payment for their house. They didn't have $50,000. I gave them $50,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, here, go get your house. Done. You know, but being that I was generous like that with them, they had no reason to judge me. What I did was how I spent my money. You know what I mean? Like, I just gave you $50,000. You're going to complain I have a S580 Mercedes? Like,
what happened to that car?
Oh. Or that, we'll get into it a little bit later. Remind me about that question. That's just a good
He blew it up.
blew it up. The hood came flying at me like this. I had to push a cop out of the way. The thing exploded.
I get a text at 7 o'clock in the morning. His car's in a gulf of flames. I'm like, holy shit.
You know what? The Yeti Cup survived. The Yeti Cup didn't melt. Everything else in that car, it looked like a Hyundai. Like it was like
that means the Yeti's got to give you a free car now. That's what they did for those Stanley Cups.
Yeah, true. Shout out to Yeti.
Yeah, but Yeti's Yeti's a serious cup. But it was my wife's cup too. She was a little pissed. But yeah, we'll get to that though. So then 2016 comes around. You know, nothing unusual. You know, we're making money. I got a new office in.
That was Totowa, right? Was that the Totowa one? Woodland Park, yeah.
Woodland Park. We got a new office at Woodland Park, and we got a 50,000 square foot warehouse across the street. So now we're like, all right, we made it big time. Well, when you make it big time, you got big bills.
Mm-hmm.
So now my monthly nut went from like, $15,000 a month to keep the doors open to like $60,000 a month to keep the doors open. So we're working, we're killing it. So remember, first year was like 130,000. Now I'm up to like $8-9 million a year.
In 6 years.
In 6 years.
Yeah.
Right. And at one time we had over 140 people working for me.
That's
being
awesome.
Subcontractors,
And
crane companies, whatever. So we were making money hand over fist. It was like the Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, I went out and I bought a G-Wagon from John Murphy.
Not just a G-Wagon, though.
Oh, no. So, yeah. So I bought a... So my friend John Murphy calls me up and he says, yo, you want a car? It's like the Prince of Dubai or something. I'm like, yeah, all right. And I'm like, how much is it? He's like, 189,000. I'm like, yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll take it. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, okay. He's like, you never even drove one before. You don't even fit in them. You want to check it out first? I'm like, no, just deliver it. So I was tracking this thing on a ship going across the country for like a couple months. So I get this beast of a G-Wagon, or it was just a typical, your mom's,
Wasn't it a Barbas?
A Bravas.
A Bravas, yeah.
Yeah, so I had a Bushi out in Queens, and No Limit. They did a lot of work to it.
That was a sick
Bushi,
video.
Yeah, the videos I have a Bushi out there. They made the whole kit. They built it immaculately. The thing was the beast. It went from like grandma's grocery getter, like rich Bergen County women's car, to what the hell is this thing? 800 horsepower thing does wheelies like a micro machine.
You step on it, just the front wheels come up.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But the thing is I'm a bit big. I'm not saying I'm skinny. I'm not saying I'm fat. But the seat had to be all the way back, and the passenger seat had to be all the way front. So basically, when my son was born, I'd be eye to eye with him, and he'd be in a car seat. So it'd be like he'd be in the back seat, I'd be in the front, and that's how that went. But so we're working. Everything's going great. 2019, and then COVID hit. During COVID, we worked. I mean, it slowed down a lot.
Everything slowed down.
So I'm not saying we had a big decline in business, but I used to be able to walk into, a T-Mobile, like a Matt Cali building.
Yeah.
And walk down the hallway and see project managers, see everybody, see people in person, go there and bring like lunch for everybody. It was like a ghost town. It was like everybody started working remotely. My wife was a teacher and she had these kids on Zoom. And like one day, like everybody knows what a Zoom call is. I don't got to break it down for you.
Yeah.
Like, so all these kids are on Zoom, and one day, like, one of the fathers walks by naked in the background. Like, what? Like, it was ridiculous. Kids are like playing video games as they're doing class.
It's like Marissa. She had a kid. My girlfriend's a teacher, and she's like, yeah, one of my kids was just holding her infant sister. She's like, I gotta watch the kids today. The kid's 11 years old. Yeah. She's like, parents are working. I'm watching the baby.
That's sad.
Yeah, kids have kids at 11 years old now. It's weird, a whole different world than when I was growing up. But so me and my wife, we conceived a child, Mr. James. Everybody knows on my Instagram, Prince James. He's the heart, love, and soul of my life and my wife's. He's the heaviest 2-year-old. I think he's a top 200% of his category. He's a
big 2-year-old.
He's like 54 pounds at 2 years old. Yeah, you saw.
He's a big boy.
My brother's 7. He's 40.
Yeah. This kid's he's a giant.
He's a mini EJ, basically.
I hope not. I can't take it. What I put my parents through, it's like karma every day. So every day I get reminded of how bad I was as a kid when I see him. So all through COVID, we were working, and everything was going good. We were making money, starting to get jobs again. Everybody was scared to leave the house. I tell you, we had to go to work in Brooklyn, 35 minutes. It was great. There's nobody on the road, so we're in and out.
What was your toll bill being in New York?
My toll?
Yeah.
Oh, besides all the boots and stuff I had on the trucks. And
what was that bill?
In pounds?
Yearly.
Oh, my Easy Pass? Like $260,000 a year.
Think about that.
Yeah, we were paying like $260,000 a year for Easy Pass. My gasoline bill was like $450,000. I mean, it's great living in New York and New Jersey. You don't really add that into the cost.
Yeah. Well, even like my dad, I went through the Amex and his like the travel bill.
Diesel and stuff, yeah.
$1,200 a month just for one pickup truck for Easy Pass going back and forth to Jersey.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, imagine when you have 15 trucks going to Brooklyn every day.
That's insane.
Yeah, so we let's see, we worked all through COVID. Then 2022, we had Mr. James, and you know how we flew him home on his little private accommodation. So
Well, he had him in Texas.
yeah,
Is that because of family?
yeah, he was born in Texas. And we flew. I didn't want to put him through the scanner because listen, I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the world when it comes to this. That's what I rely
You're
on.
no idiot, though, Ej.
Yeah, I'm no idiot when it comes to a lot of stuff, but I'm not also like common sense wise, and I usually go above and beyond. So I thought they were gonna put this kid through the
X-ray?
bins. Yeah, the bins where you put your shoes in because he was little, like he can't walk. He's like 2 days old. So yeah, we came home on a G5 jet. So we pull up to the tarmac. I have security's there, everything. We go right onto the plane. It's what do you call it? Who was it? It was Simplicity Jets. They took us home. I made friends with these guys. It's a great private jet company, and basically from there, when we landed, I had Danny Hustle Hard, my driver. He comes on the plane. He's like, "Yo, Cheech, what's up?" You know what I mean? I'm like, "Danny, meet your nephew." He's like, "Oh, this plane's bigger than some people's houses," video and stuff like that. But no, Danny's one of the drivers. He does a lot like with Saquon and a lot of professional athletes. So we come home in the caravan. The kid's 4 days old, right? He's been to a restaurant in the W Hotel. He is on a private jet. I don't even think we had him in a car seat. Yeah, coming home, he was in a car seat on the plane. I wish I could show you the picture.
We'll clip it up. Yeah.
Yeah, but we get home with him, and my wife's she took her leave of absence from teaching, and she stayed with him most of the days, and I was going to work. That's just the way it should be. Or women are entitled to work if they want, but if you can provide and your wife can raise your child and somebody else, it's a benefit. So it brings us into 2022.
But I don't mean to cut you off, but Vito always says, America, you grow up, very rough childhood, you get blown up in Iraq, and now 10, 14 years later in that vicinity, you're taking your 2-day-old son back on a private jet to New Jersey.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a big turnaround in a lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, it was
big.
Huge. And
did you ever think that was going to happen as a kid?
No, I didn't. Honestly, I wanted to be a cop, but I found myself always on the other side of the law. That's why I call it second chance communications. But I never expected that to happen. I mean, like that was probably one of the happiest days of my life. When he was born, and I don't know, there's just a feeling once you have a kid. I mean, my friend Ed's here too. He's over there. He'll tell you, right? When you have your first kid. It is the happiest day of your life. Yeah. It's just I don't know about the second kid. I know the first one was good.
Second one's crazy.
Second one's crazy, but
you feel unconditional love like you never felt before.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
one day.
I know me and my wife we're gonna try to have a second kid. Hopefully, I would love to have a second one. We want a girl, which is gonna make me broke, but. Because I like to shop. Listen, I like to shop. I like nice things. I think I like to shop more than my wife, which makes it a little weird. But if I have a shopping partner and I'm like, "Yo, tell your mom I needed this too to match you," like, she can't really say anything.
We were sitting at the bar, 2-3 weeks ago. He's like, "We gotta buy this cologne. We gotta buy these shoes."
Oh yeah, how do you like the cologne? It was good.
Awesome.
I walk in today, I'm like, "You smell great." He was wearing it today.
If I walked home like that, she said, "Where are you going? You better go shower." My wife, I would never be allowed to leave the house with that cologne. That's like that pheromone. So they open the window and the girls walk by your house and just walk inside. But
shout out Baccarat.
Yeah, shout out Baccarat, Yeti cups, and Mercedes. So, what else you want to talk about?
So that's 2022. You have
Mr. James.
Mr. James,
and then everything's going good. Raising a child, as a baby, there's a lot of curveballs thrown at you that you don't expect and that you have to deal with. My son was diagnosed with high-function autism. I don't see it in him, though. I mean, he's an incredible...
I don't see it either, dude.
No, he's incredible. He loves Emma, which could be dangerous. It's Ed's daughter. Because, if they ever start dating, we're going to need a prenup because No, I'm saying for you because you're gonna have more money than me. But no, they get along good. James is very picky who he likes. So Emma is they play good together, and Anthony Pizzino, his son, G.
Waits in the States.
Yeah, waits in the States. You know, they're a week apart, and they're like best friends.
Yeah.
It's just like they sent me a video the other day. We gave him sandals like a year and a half ago. His son isn't an ogre like mine. He still doesn't fit into these shoes. So to wrap this all up on a high note, what happened, or it could be a high note, or it could be a bad note, is so after this country's interest rate started rising to 11%, a lot of big companies like T-Mobile and stuff, you know, when they want to
Drop
borrow,
the prices.
well, not only that, when they want to borrow $1 billion at 11% interest, you know, and the cost are rising, the cost of living's rising, you know, work slows down a lot. So in our whole telecom industry, I think they're probably you can fact check me. I'm just throwing a guess. I think we're at like 30% capacity across all the companies. I know T-Mobile laid off like 48,000 people. AT&T laid off a bunch of people. So there's really nothing going on for like a year or two, is what I'm told.
Yeah.
So what I did is we liquidated the business because it would cost me
$70K a month.
$70,000 to $100,000 a month to keep it open. We did all get right with that. I went back into finance. I'm not going to say what I'm doing now or anything like that, just because if you know me, you'll reach out to me, but I'm not advertising it for certain reasons at this moment. But I'm doing pretty well with that. I have back surgery this Tuesday. But
You're in surgery every week.
Oh, let's get to my surgeries. Yeah, so I've had probably over 37 surgeries since the Marine Corps.
Crazy.
I had three shoulder surgeries.
Well, when I first met you, you were still taking out shrapnel.
Yeah. And then I've had 3 shoulder surgeries since November 10th. So one, I forgot to get, they didn't give me antibiotics.
I was doing bad.
No.
He just got back surgery.
I got Tuesday. We'll talk about it. I got, they forgot to give me antibiotics. We were out to dinner that night. We went out to Restaurante MV, which is one of my favorite places. And then the next day, I ended up in the hospital. And they're like, oh, you have like 8 hours to live. You have sepsis. So I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. So we go. And it was Christmas time, right? Was it not?
It was Christmas time.
It was like the 21st.
It was like
December.
5 days before Christmas.
Yeah, who did we have there? We had Chris Dunn there, who does
shout out Chris Dunn.
We had Achilles Detail and Alex.
Waits in the States. Ed was there.
Yeah, Waits in the States was there. Wayne Holland was there.
Friggin' Wayne had a night.
Ed, he had such a good night.
I don't think he remembers Restaurant AMV.
I don't want to remember.
Dude,
Ed Rivera was there. He has what is his company? Semper Technologies. Yeah, he does a lot of amazing work. He did all the cameras at our warehouses, you know, my house, my office. I mean, this is the guy to go to if you want anything done or you want to protect your house or valuables.
He's coming on the podcast in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends. I mean, he's incredible. So that night we had a great dinner, and next day I ended up in the hospital, and I had sepsis, and they I was in the hospital till December 24th. I made it home to meet my in-laws, who were very welcoming to see me, and we had like a little Christmas Eve thing. It was cool. The next day I had Christmas with the second Christmas with my son and my wife. What else? I was all slung up in a sling, and I remember I was laying in bed, but I didn't feel right again. And then something popped in my back. I don't know. It's it was almost like a Charlie horse. It almost, I didn't fart or anything crazy. It just hurt like hell. And this is why I'm going for back surgery. A disc actually slipped in my back. It's in my spinal cord, and I'm limping down my right leg. So then on top of that, I'm going to get the IV bags for the infection for my shoulder. So they went back in, and I had 14 anchors put in my shoulder, bicep tendon repair, full rotator cuff repair, a slap tear. And when they did this, they said the infection was so bad it ate my rotator cuff.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, fuck me, right? I got no fucking rotator cuff. I'm gonna be gimped up again. Like, I'm tired of surgeries. Like, I need like a flash pass just to check in. So I get that. So then again, January 14th, I think it was, I'm back in the hospital again. I got the infection again. They cut me open again. They removed everything. And they said, when you heal, we'll redo the surgery again. Yeah, I'm not going to do that one. But upcoming, I got this minor back surgery. I hope everything works out. I hope it's my last surgery for a while because my son's getting heavier and he wants to get picked up more, and that kills me that I can't lift him up.
Yeah.
But
You'll get healthy though for sure.
Yeah, I mean, once I'm back into the gym, which I'm kind of going with Ed and like walking and stuff now. Give me 3 months,
You'll be back to normal.
I got something for him.
Brother, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me.